Hey guys, so today we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question was, Frederick, apart from hacking, are there other side or immoral sides of software development? So let's get into it. Well, I would say so, and just for completeness sake, I will probably just start us off by mentioning the stuff that you probably heard of yourself, which is that you may not know this, but there's quite a few companies out there who are storing and keeping your personal information to simply sell it to external parties. There is a lot of money to be made from people's personal information because ad companies and different various organizations that wants to know stuff about you, because if they know stuff about you, they can target their marketing and they can go around themselves and pretty much start making money off of that information. If you didn't know that, LinkedIn, for example, I have first-hand experience as to how they are very protective and very jealous of their personal information. So let's just call it that without going too far. So that is like probably the way that you've heard things go. And of course you have other things such as people creating profiles and being tracked without wanting to, without giving their consent. And most recently they also have, which is I think kind of fun, where legally you are now required to be able to forget a person through the system. But you see, companies like to take their own interpretation of that. And what I mean by that is that legally I should be able to be forgotten whenever I want. But that's not something that is all that useful to the companies. So they can provide this service through a varying degrees of means. And the worst way is that they simply don't tell you or give you an option from their interfaces to actually delete your account. They require you to contact them manually and do it. And that is, although it's not immoral, it's a very calculated thing for a lot of these companies. So, apart from these things, I would say that the most immoral thing that I've seen done, and this is something that I won't mention any names or anything like that, because I was part of situations when this happened, where like companies would create, well, you probably heard of it, that Facebook creates fake news. As an example, they content generate, and there are other examples of this going on, but that is an extremely common case. You simulate content through interactions, and it's actually a very common strategy for social media sites to do this. The dating sites is an example where actually it's kind of funny, because the majority of these dating sites are using bots in order to draw traffic, where especially for men, like guys, there are not that many, it's a very high likelihood that if you are on the free tier on a dating site and a female reaches out and wants to talk to you, it's highly likely that is a bot that tries to get you to actually sign up for the paid account so you can actually see what they're saying, as an example. And the reason why it's so popular to create fake content or simulate fake users in social media sites is because you won't use very few people would use a social media network where there's no one there. That's one of the trickiest parts about social media and creating a startup that is based on social media, because you need it to be popular before it has any value to pretty much anyone. And that's actually a very tricky thing to figure out. You need to have an idea very often, which basically provides value to people at even small scale. You can't just think about how awesome it will be when it's super popular, because you need to get there first, and that means that you need to think about a solution that is useful to 10 people as well as 10 million people. So these are probably some of the more immoral things. And other immoral things, I mean, if we exclude hacking, well, being loose with people's data, not caring so much about the user themselves, that was a big eye-opener for me as well. Because when I first started programming, I had this naive thinking that, software development is about creating really good user experiences and creating a lot of value for people on the internet, or like just people. And then after a while of working, I realized that that is absolutely not the case. What's important is that you create the biggest, for a lot of companies, you create the biggest revenue stream from them, for them. An example of this is if you've ever tried to book a flight. I'm not going to mention specific airlines now because they all do it. If you ever tried to do that, have you ever considered how many external parties, like hotels and bookings and extra luggage and all these different various things that you can add on to your ticket? And often you're pretty much forced to go through this weird wizard where you need to make a decision about all these things. And of course they kind of spam you with different ads and stuff of this nature. And they do that because they want to extract the largest amount of money that they can from you. And that's not really that's not about helping you, that's about helping the company. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily immoral. It's just a practice that I'm not very fond of, because I suppose that's why I'm such a shitty businessman. I have this weird thing where I just want to do right by people if I can, and that's not it's not always a feasible way to have that mindset if you want to make money. So what I want you to take away from this is that there are absolutely immoral things happening apart from hacking when it comes to software development. It usually has to do with trying to extract money from personal information or things of this nature, or tricking people into believing that a brand is more popular than it actually is. If you remember back in the old days, you may have remembered that a lot of websites had that clicker, number of visits per day. That kind of a lot of people removed that very quickly when they realized that that is an indicator as to how popular your site is. And that's kind of how IT sometimes works, where a small business can portray themselves as being a really big one or really popular by simply using some IT magic. It's like the shampoo industry. Everything looks equal to you because the bottle is equally extravagant or shiny or well branded. So yeah, that's pretty much it. My personal worst example, the thing that I think is most immoral, is when you try to basically trick people into believing that your site provides something that it doesn't. And that happens a lot in especially the startup world, where founders will basically lie. They will claim that their stuff can do things that it can't do, and they will fake it because they want to sign a contract with companies, or they want you to use their platform even though it's absolute shit. So there's a lot of lying going on in IT depending on who you talk to. I'm sorry to say. Have a great day.